Looney Tunes: The Day the Earth Blew Up is a movie that I've been so excited about. This movie. This has been on my most anticipated movie of the year for almost 3 years now. And this is kind of one of those movies that just kept getting delayed and delayed, and we didn't really know what was going to happen with it because essentially this movie was potentially and initially going to be written off by Warner Brothers and their taxes. Movie ended up being so far along that it was kind of wordless to do that, and Catch Up Entertainment was like, we want that and we'll release it in theaters, which is quite interesting because they didn't even bother releasing the new Hellboy movie in theaters, but they released this in theaters. And I sat down at the first earliest preview night I could and bought a ticket. And I didn't even have to buy a ticket because you guys know, if you follow my channel, I work in a movie theater. But I wanted to see this movie as soon as possible, and our Thursday night previews were at 2 o'clock, and then the other theater had one at 1:40. So of course I bought my ticket, paid the $9 to see this movie when I could have seen this movie for free, which also I felt very justified in this because this movie, if this movie does well, we are sending a message with this movie, and I don't know what this movie will do. There's not really any box office tracking for this. I am a little sad there was no one there at the theater, but that might just be where I live right now. Today it's been really rainy and groggy out. I was actually going to go see another movie later tonight at a different theater. Decided not to do that just because of the weather. So I get if you're like, so I don't know if it did better other places, but I suspect it's probably the same. Just because this movie's not been marketed at all, mainly because Catch Up Entertainment. I mean, what kind of company is that? Like, you ever heard of these people? Not really. They don't. They're a smaller company. They don't have money to push movies like Warner Brothers does, and this is why it's such a shame, because we basically have CEOs at Warner Brothers who are the equivalent to people and who would work at Disney and be like, I don't really get Mickey Mouse or don't like him. That is what we have at Warner Brothers, and that's why this movie ended up in the shape that it did. So I recommend paying your money, seeing this movie in theaters if you can. If you care at all about the story of Coyote versus Acme, I'm not going to go into that whole thing. Look up your own information about that. But if you care about that movie and want to see that released, check out this movie in theaters. Do whatever you can. This is a movie that costs upwards about $15 million. If we can get it to at least 20, 25 million, that's a good sign. I don't know if it will, but we got to try with this movie. Because not only is it just sending a great message to the studios who fuck around with animation like this, but it's also just because it's a good movie. This is a really good movie. This is, by the way, this is the first ever feature-length animated Looney Tunes movie to be released in theaters. Of course, they had compilation movies of different shorts, kind of with new animation mixed in. So you got stuff like Daffy Duck Quackbusters. You have Looney Tunes Back in Action. You have Space Jam, but those are not fully animated. So really the first time this ever been done. And I think this movie's really good for a couple reasons. I think, first of all, the animation in this movie is gorgeous. Really, it's if you've seen those new shorts on HBO Max, it's basically those shorts animation style, but a little more polished and cinematic. Not by much, because that style was already great, but I think this movie shows what a lot of great people who work with Looney Tunes can tell you, is you just don't change the characters. You just change the setting. Like, you can kind of throw Bugs Bunny into any setting. As long as he acts like Bugs Bunny, it works. Same thing with Daffy Duck, So that's why you have Daffy Duck shorts where he's going at it with Bugs about whether or not it's rabbit season or duck season. Or shorts where he's in space and he's a space captain. Things like that. Where this movie is essentially the same as that characters except The difference is it's a 50s sci-fi movie. That's kind of like an invasion of the body type or snatchers type movie. And that's basically what this movie is. It's that kind of 50s, not completely in that style, right? It's still in the style of like a Looney Tunes cartoon, but it's, you know, it's got those elements to it. That's the kind of concept. That's how these things work. As long as you just keep the personality of the characters intact. Daffy's the egomaniac kind of loony guy, and he's trying to always prove himself right. You got Porky Pig being the more timid, shy kind of character. Like, it all works. It's very well structured. The animation's gorgeous. The villain was great. I love the villain once he's hypnotized the scientist. The scientist, what's his lines? That he says, true. That's just great. There's a lot of great comedy with that. A lot of great bits in this movie. A lot of great fourth wall breaks, too, in this movie as well. This movie is really funny. I laugh consistently, which is kind of odd to say because I was in a theater by myself laughing, but it worked. I kind of want to see this movie again. I'm not sure if I'm going to, but I really love this movie. I hope everyone checks this movie out. It is now my third favorite movie of the year. Or might even be my fourth. I don't know. It's right now it's Neja 2, Paddington, Companion, and Looney Tunes. It is a great year for movies right now. And all those movies are so versatile and very different types of movies, and yet I was able to really connect with and enjoy all of them, which says something about all those movies. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe.